Have you ever felt like you were losing yourself in a relationship? As if, little by little, your voice was silenced, your light dimmed, and you became a shadow of who you used to be. If you're watching this video, it's because something inside you recognizes this pain, the silent pain of dealing with narcissistic abuse. And I want you to know, from the bottom of my heart, that you're not alone, and there is a way back to yourself. In the next few minutes, we'll embark together on a journey of profound healing. You're going to discover why this pain is so devastating, how to recognize the patterns keeping you trapped, and most importantly, how to break free and rebuild your life with love, strength, and dignity. I'll share with you the transformative wisdom of Louise Hay, practical tools you can use immediately, and a powerful exercise that will begin healing the deepest wounds of your soul. And there's a special moment in this video where you'll be able to join a community of people who, just like you, are choosing healing and self-love. I know you might be exhausted, confused, questioning whether you'll be able to recover, but I promise you, there is light on the other side of this darkness. There is joy waiting for you. There is a version of yourself that is free, confident, and deeply at peace. And this journey begins now, in this moment, with the decision to stay here with me and take this first courageous step toward your healing. So take a deep breath, allow yourself to be present, and let's begin this transformation together. You deserve this. Asterisk, asterisk, invisible wounds, asterisk, asterisk. There's a pain that doesn't scream but whispers in the silence of the night. It's that feeling of being lost in an emotional maze, where each step seems to take you deeper into confusion. When you experience narcissistic abuse, something inside you begins to fragment, piece by piece, until you barely recognize who's looking back in the mirror. Louise Hay taught us that every pain carries a message, and this specific pain is calling you to a journey of return to your true self. The reality is that narcissistic abuse doesn't leave visible marks, but its emotional scars are deep and real. Think of Sarah, a vibrant woman who gradually lost her light. At first, she didn't notice the subtle signs, the comments disguised as jokes, the constant invalidation of her feelings, the growing sensation that nothing she did was enough. Over time, Sarah began to question her own sanity, her perception of reality, her ability to make decisions. This is the insidious impact of narcissistic abuse. It makes you doubt your own truth. Louise Hay said that our thoughts create our reality, and when someone constantly distorts your perception, you begin to create a reality based on lies about who you really are. Narcissistic abuse operates through invisible tactics that erode your self-esteem, like water dripping on a stone. Gaslighting, emotional manipulation, cycles of idealization and devaluation. These are tools that make you feel like you're going crazy. You might find yourself constantly apologizing for things you didn't do, walking on eggshells to avoid emotional explosions, or feeling a deep emptiness where there once was joy. According to Louise Hay, when we allow others to define our worth, we're giving away our personal power. And that's exactly what happens. You begin to believe you deserve this treatment, that maybe you really are the problem. The truth that needs to be told is this: you're not imagining things, your pain is valid, your feelings are real, and what you experienced left deep marks on your soul. Louise Hay always emphasized the importance of honoring our feelings, of acknowledging our pain without judgment. When you name what happened, when you allow the truth to emerge from the shadows, you take the first step toward healing. I acknowledge my pain and choose to heal myself with love and compassion. This affirmation doesn't erase what happened, but it opens space for light to begin penetrating the darkness. The impact of narcissistic abuse extends to all areas of your life. You might feel constant anxiety, difficulty trusting people, fear of making decisions, or a persistent feeling of not being good enough. Your future relationships might be affected, your career might suffer, and your physical health might begin to reflect the internal emotional chaos. But here's the powerful truth that Louise Hay left us. You have within you everything you need to heal yourself. Recognizing this silent pain isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of a new narrative. One where you are the author, the heroine, and the victor. And this healing journey begins now. With the courage to look within and say, I deserve love, respect, and kindness. Starting with myself. Asterisk, asterisk, the mirror of truth, asterisk, asterisk, when you look back and observe the relationships in your life, can you perceive an invisible thread connecting them? Perhaps you notice that you always attract the same type of person, or that you find yourself repeating the same painful cycles, as if you're trapped in a dance you don't know how to stop. Louise Hay taught us that the patterns we repeat aren't coincidences. They're mirrors reflecting deep beliefs we carry about ourselves. Recognizing these patterns is an act of tremendous courage because it means looking honestly at the choices we've made and understanding that, somehow, we believed we deserved less than true love. But here's the beauty of this discovery. When you see the pattern, you can change it. Jennifer grew up in a home where love was conditional, where she needed to behave a certain way to receive approval. As an adult, she found herself attracted to partners who replicated this dynamic, people who made her feel she needed to earn their love, that she was never enough as she was. She didn't consciously perceive this pattern until, after years of toxic relationships, she decided to pause and look within. According to Louise Hay, our childhood experiences shape the beliefs we have about ourselves, and these beliefs attract situations that confirm them. Jennifer was unconsciously seeking the familiar, even though the familiar was painful, because it was what she knew as love. The patterns you repeat have deep roots in your core beliefs. If you believe, deep down, that you're not worthy of unconditional love, you'll attract people who will treat you exactly that way. If you carry the belief that you need to sacrifice yourself to be loved, you'll find relationships where your voice is silenced and your needs ignored. Louise Hay said that every thought we think is creating our future, and this means that patterns only change when we change the thoughts that feed them. Recognizing this isn't about blaming yourself, it's about empowering yourself. I recognize my old patterns and choose to create new paths based on self-love. This affirmation is a declaration of emotional independence. Reclaiming your power means understanding that you're not a victim of your circumstances, but a creator of your reality. This doesn't deny the abuse you suffered. What happened was real and wasn't your fault. But what you do from now on, how you choose to heal and grow, that's entirely in your hands. Louise Hay always emphasized that we have the power to change our life by changing our thoughts. When you decide you won't accept crumbs of affection anymore, when you establish that you deserve respect and kindness, when you choose to treat yourself with the same compassion you'd offer a dear friend, you're reclaiming your power. You're telling the universe, I am worthy of true and healthy love. The process of recognizing patterns and reclaiming your power is like awakening from a deep sleep. At first, it can be disorienting, even frightening, because it means leaving behind what's familiar, even if it's painful. But as you become more conscious, as you begin to make different choices based on self-love, something magical happens. You begin to attract different experiences. People who respect you start appearing. Opportunities that honor your worth arise. You discover that you can trust yourself, that your intuition is wise, that you always had the power within you. I trust myself and the choices I make with love. And so, step by step, you build a new reality, one where you're no longer hostage to old patterns, but the conscious architect of a radiant future full of possibilities. But before we continue this transformative journey, I'd like to invite you to something special. If this content is resonating with you, if you're feeling that these words are touching something deep in your soul, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any video on this journey of healing and self-discovery. Leave your like if you're recognizing yourself in this story, and share this video with someone who also needs to hear this message of hope. And tell me here in the comments, which insight from this chapter touched your heart the most? What are you recognizing about your own patterns? Your sharing might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Let's create together a community of healing and self-love. Inner freedom, forgiveness is perhaps one of the most misunderstood words when it comes to emotional healing. Many people believe that forgiving means forgetting what happened, or worse, accepting abusive behavior as something acceptable. But Louise Hay taught us something completely different. Forgiveness isn't about the other person, it's about you. It's about releasing the weight you carry in your heart, about letting go of the invisible chains that bind you to the past. When you refuse to forgive, you're not punishing who hurt you. You're keeping yourself prisoner of the pain. Forgiveness is the most generous act of self-love you can offer yourself, because it frees you to live fully in the present. Imagine carrying a backpack full of heavy stones every day. Each stone represents a hurt, a betrayal, a cruel word, a moment of humiliation. Over time, this backpack becomes so heavy that you can barely move, can barely breathe. This is the reality of living without forgiveness. You carry the weight of the past in every step you take. Maria lived like this for years after leaving an abusive relationship. She fed the anger, mentally replayed all the injustices, kept the flame of resentment alive. But according to Louise Hay, when we hold on to anger and resentment, we're poisoning our own system. Maria realized that her refusal to forgive wasn't affecting her ex-partner. It was destroying her own peace, her health, her ability to be happy. Forgiveness begins with understanding that people who hurt others are operating from their own unhealed wounds. This doesn't justify their behavior, doesn't make the abuse acceptable, but it helps you see that what happened wasn't about you, it was about their limitations and their pain. Louise Hay always said that hurt people, and when you understand this, something softens inside you. You realize you no longer need to carry the guilt, the shame, or the belief that there was something wrong with you. I release all resentment and choose inner peace. This affirmation is like opening your hands and letting the stones fall, one by one, until your backpack is empty and you can walk lightly again. But there's an even more important type of forgiveness, and often more difficult: forgiving yourself. You might be carrying guilt for having stayed so long, for not having seen the signs, for having believed the lies, for having allowed the abuse. Louise Hay reminds us that we did the best we could with the knowledge and awareness we had at that moment. You didn't know then what you know now. You were doing the best possible with the emotional tools you had. Forgiving yourself is recognizing your humanity, your vulnerability, and choosing to treat yourself with the same compassion you'd offer a frightened child. I forgive myself completely and love myself exactly as I am. When you speak these words and truly feel them, something profound heals within you. The path of forgiveness isn't linear, and it doesn't happen all at once. Some days you'll feel peace, other days the anger might resurface, and that's okay. Louise Hay taught us that healing is a process, not a destination. Each time you choose forgiveness again, you're strengthening this emotional muscle. You're becoming freer. And here's the liberating truth. When you forgive, you're not saying what happened was right. You're saying you won't allow that to define who you are or limit what you can become. You're choosing your peace over your pain, your future over your past. And in this choice, you discover an immense power, the power to write a new chapter, one where you are free, where your heart is light, and where love can finally find space to flourish. This freedom you're cultivating prepares you for something even deeper. Asterisk, asterisk, the forgotten child, asterisk, asterisk, within you exists a child who still carries the wounds of not having been seen, heard, or loved the way she deserved. This inner child holds memories of moments when you felt small, inadequate, or invisible. Louise Hay taught us that many of our adult difficulties have roots in childhood experiences, and that true healing happens when we go back and offer our inner child the love and acceptance she always needed. When you experience narcissistic abuse, these old wounds are reactivated and deepened. Because the abuse touches exactly the most vulnerable places of your soul, nurturing your inner child isn't an optional exercise. It's essential for your complete healing. Think of Emily, who grew up in an environment where her emotions were constantly invalidated. When she cried, they said she was being dramatic. When she expressed her needs, she was called selfish. This child learned that her feelings didn't matter, that she needed to become small to be accepted. As an adult, Emily attracted a narcissistic partner who replicated exactly this dynamic, someone who made her feel that her emotions were exaggerated, that her needs were a burden. According to Louise Hay, until we heal these original wounds, we'll continue attracting situations that mirror them. Emily needed to go back and embrace that frightened little girl, tell her that her feelings were valid, that she was worthy of love and attention. The wounded inner child operates from fear and neediness. She seeks external validation because she never learned to validate herself internally. She accepts crumbs of affection because she believes that's all she deserves. She tolerates unacceptable behaviors because she's afraid of abandonment. Louise Hay always emphasized that we need to become the loving parents we perhaps didn't have, that we need to offer ourselves the security, affection, and approval we seek outside. When you begin to dialogue with your inner child, when you listen to her with compassion and validate her feelings, something magical happens. That wounded part of you begins to feel safe for the first time. I am the loving mother, father of my inner child, and she is safe with me. This affirmation creates a healing bridge between your adult self and your child self. Nurturing your inner child involves concrete and loving practices. It can be as simple as looking at a photo of yourself as a child and speaking words of love and encouragement. It can be allowing yourself to play, laugh, do things that bring pure joy without productive purpose. It can be establishing firm boundaries that protect your vulnerability, saying no to things that hurt and yes to things that nurture. Louise Hay reminds us that the inner child responds to love, kindness, patience. She doesn't need criticism or demands. She's already had enough of that. What she needs is you saying, I see you, I hear you, you matter, and I will never abandon you. I love and accept my inner child completely. When you offer this consistently, healing deepens in ways you never imagined possible. As you nurture your inner child, you notice profound changes in how you relate to yourself and others. You no longer desperately seek external validation because you're learning to validate yourself internally. You no longer accept treatments that hurt because now you have a strong protective part that says, no, this isn't acceptable for us. You discover that you can feel complete alone, that you can offer yourself the comfort and love you always sought outside. According to Louise Hay, when we heal the inner child, we heal the root of so many painful patterns. And this healing not only transforms your present, it frees your future. You become capable of creating healthy relationships, of establishing boundaries with love, of choosing people who honor you, and all this begins with the simple and profound act of going within, extending your hand to that frightened child and saying, "I'm here now, and you'll never be alone again." This reconnection with your purest essence now allows you to also transform the way you speak to yourself. Voice that transforms. Pay attention to the voice that speaks inside your head. What does it say about you? How does it treat you when you make a mistake? When you don't meet expectations? When you're simply being human? For many people who've been through narcissistic abuse, this internal voice has become cruel, critical, and relentless, a perfect replica of the abuser's voice. Louise Hay taught us that the way we speak to ourselves creates our emotional reality, and that transforming this critical voice into a loving voice is one of the most powerful steps in the healing journey. You deserve to have an internal voice that encourages you, that supports you, that reminds you of your light even on the darkest days. After years of hearing she wasn't good enough, Rachel completely internalized this message. Her internal voice became a constant echo of criticism. "You're stupid. You always mess everything up. Nobody will truly love you. You don't deserve to be happy." She didn't even notice anymore that she was doing this. Self-criticism had become as automatic as breathing. According to Louise Hay, when we repeat negative thoughts about ourselves, we're literally programming our subconscious mind to believe these lies. Rachel was perpetuating the abuse alone, even after having left the toxic relationship. The abuser's voice had moved inside her own head, and now she needed to learn to replace it with a voice of love. Self-criticism is a learned habit, and like every habit, it can be unlearned and replaced with something better. The first step is simply noticing when you're being cruel to yourself. Observe the thoughts without judgment, as if you were watching clouds passing in the sky. "Ah, there's that thought again, saying I'm a failure." Louise Hay always emphasized the importance of awareness. You can't change what you don't recognize. Once you notice the pattern, you can begin to question it. Is this true? Would I speak this way to a dear friend? Where does this voice come from? Usually, you'll discover it's not your true voice. It's the voice of someone who hurt you, of messages you internalized when you were vulnerable. I choose to speak to myself with love and kindness. This affirmation is a commitment to change the internal dialogue. Transforming self-criticism into self-acceptance requires conscious and repeated practice. Each time you notice a critical thought, you can gently replace it with a loving thought. Instead of "I'm so stupid," you can say "I made a mistake, and that's okay. I'm learning and growing." Instead of "nobody will love me," you can affirm "I am worthy of love," starting with my own. Louise Hay created the famous mirror exercise, where you look into your own eyes and say "I love you and accept you exactly as you are." At first, this might seem impossible, even ridiculous. You might cry. You might feel resistance. You might want to run away. But if you persist, if you keep looking at yourself with compassion, something profound begins to change. I accept myself completely, with all my imperfections. Self-acceptance doesn't mean you're perfect. It means you're human, and that's more than enough. As you cultivate a loving internal voice, your entire life experience transforms. You become more resilient in the face of challenges because you have an internal source of encouragement. You take more risks. because you're no longer paralyzed by fear of brutal self-criticism if something goes wrong. You attract healthier people because the way you treat yourself sets the standard for how you allow others to treat you. According to Louise Hay, when we change our internal dialogue, we literally change our energetic vibration, and this attracts different experiences. The voice of love within you isn't weak or permissive. It's strong, wise, and deeply compassionate. It challenges you to grow, but always with gentleness. It reminds you of your values, but without shame. It celebrates your victories and comforts you in falls. And the more you practice speaking to yourself this way, the more natural it becomes, until one day you realize the cruel voice is gone, and in its place exists a faithful friend, a loving guide, an inexhaustible source of acceptance. This new voice strengthens you to create something essential for your protection and well-being. Asterisk, asterisk, your sacred space, asterisk, asterisk. Boundaries aren't walls that isolate you from the world. They're bridges that connect you with your own dignity. They define where you end and where the other begins, what's acceptable and what isn't, how you allow yourself to be treated and what you won't tolerate anymore. Louise Hay taught us that establishing healthy boundaries is a profound act of self-love, a declaration to the universe that you value yourself enough to protect your peace, your energy, and your well-being. When you went through narcissistic abuse, your boundaries were constantly violated, trampled, ignored, until you perhaps don't even know anymore where they should be. Rebuilding these boundaries is like building a sacred sanctuary around your soul. Lisa always had difficulty saying no. She was raised believing that being good meant always putting others' needs before her own, that establishing boundaries was selfishness. When she entered a relationship with a narcissist, this absence of boundaries was completely exploited. He invaded her privacy, disrespected her time, ignored her requests, and she allowed everything because she didn't know how to stop it. According to Louise Hay, when we don't have clear boundaries, we're essentially telling the world we don't value ourselves, and people will treat you exactly the way you allow yourself to be treated. Lisa needed to learn that saying no to what hurt her was actually saying yes to herself, to her health, to her happiness. Establishing boundaries begins with clarity about what's acceptable to you. What behaviors will you no longer tolerate? What kind of treatment do you deserve? How do you want to feel in your relationships? Louise Hay always emphasized the importance of knowing your own values and needs. When you have internal clarity, communicating boundaries externally becomes easier. You can say calmly, "I don't accept being spoken to this way," or "I need space to process this," or "No, that doesn't work for me." It doesn't need to be aggressive or defensive. Healthy boundaries are established with firmness and love. I establish healthy boundaries that protect my inner peace. This affirmation anchors you in the truth that you have the absolute right to protect yourself. One of the biggest challenges in establishing boundaries is dealing with the guilt that might arise. You might feel selfish, mean, or fear that people will abandon you if you're not always available and compliant. But Louise Hay reminds us that guilt is often a sign that we're doing something new and healthy, something that goes against the old programming. People who truly love you will respect your boundaries, even if they need time to adjust. And those who react with anger, manipulation, or punishment when you establish boundaries, they're showing you exactly why these boundaries are necessary. I deserve respect, and my boundaries are valid. When you stand firm in this truth, even in the face of resistance, you're strengthening your sense of self and reclaiming your power. Building your sanctuary through healthy boundaries completely transforms the quality of your life. You discover you have more energy because you're no longer exhausting yourself trying to please everyone. You feel more at peace because you're no longer allowing toxic behaviors to invade your emotional space. Your relationships improve because the people who stay are those who genuinely respect you. According to Louise Hay, when we honor ourselves by establishing clear boundaries, we're teaching others how to treat us, and we're creating space for authentic and healthy relationships. Boundaries don't distance you from love. They create the safe environment where true love can flourish. And within this sanctuary you've built, you finally have space to breathe, to be yourself, to nurture your dreams and cultivate the life you truly desire. This sacred space you've created now allows you to plant seeds of a completely new future. Asterisk, asterisk, seeds of tomorrow, asterisk, asterisk. After spending so much time in a toxic environment, you might have forgotten what it feels like to experience genuine joy. Perhaps you've become so accustomed to pain, to tension, to walking on eggshells, that lightness seems strange, almost suspicious. Louise Hay taught us that we have the power to create our future through the choices we make today, and that cultivating joy isn't a luxury, it's a fundamental necessity for healing. Planting seeds of joy means making conscious choices, small and large, that nourish your soul and reconnect you with life. It's about remembering that you weren't born to suffer, but to flourish, and that each day is a new opportunity to choose the light. Think of a garden that's been neglected for years. The soil is hard, weeds have taken over, and it seems impossible that anything beautiful could grow there again. But with care, patience, and love, you can transform that space. You remove the weeds' negative thoughts, prepare the soil, heal the wounds, and then begin to plant seeds of beautiful things. Sophia spent years in a relationship where her joy was constantly suffocated. She had forgotten what made her happy, what ignited her passion, what brought sparkle to her eyes. According to Louise Hay, when we disconnect from joy, we disconnect from our vital essence. Sophia needed to rediscover who she was beyond the pain, and this began with small acts of kindness to herself, a walk in nature, a song she loved, a forgotten hobby. Cultivating a future of worthiness means challenging the deep belief that you don't deserve good things. This belief might have been planted in childhood and reinforced by abuse, but it's not the truth about who you are. Louise Hay always emphasized that worthiness isn't something you need to earn, it's your birthright. You deserve love, joy, peace, prosperity, health, simply because you exist. When you begin to act from this truth, when you make choices that reflect your value, you're planting powerful seeds. It can be as simple as buying fresh flowers for your home, setting aside time to do something you love, or saying yes to an opportunity that excites you. I deserve all the joy and abundance life has to offer. This affirmation isn't arrogance, it's the fundamental truth of your being. The seeds you plant today will determine tomorrow's harvest. If you plant thoughts of gratitude, you'll reap more reasons to be grateful. If you plant actions of self-care, you'll reap health and vitality. If you plant relationships based on mutual respect, you'll reap deep and meaningful connections. Louise Hay reminds us that we are gardeners of our own lives, and that we have the responsibility and privilege of choosing what we cultivate. This doesn't mean you'll never have difficult days or that pain will disappear completely overnight, but it means you're consciously creating more space for light, more moments of beauty, more experiences that remind you that life can be good. I plant seeds of love and joy in every thought and action. Each small positive choice is a seed that will germinate in its time. As you continue planting and nurturing these seeds, something extraordinary happens. You begin to see sprouts of new life emerging from the soil. Perhaps it's a genuine smile that arises spontaneously, a feeling of hope you haven't felt in years, or a moment of deep peace where there once was only anxiety. According to Louise Hay, when we align our thoughts, words, and actions with love and joy, we create a magnetic energy that attracts more of the same. You discover that you can laugh again, dream again, trust again. The garden of your life, which seemed so devastated, is blooming with vibrant colors and sweet fragrances, and you realize you always had within you everything you needed to create this beauty. You just needed to believe you deserved it. Plant the seeds with intention and have patience with the growth process. This flourishing garden now invites you to take an even deeper step of trust. Asterisk, asterisk, dancing with life, asterisk, asterisk, trust is perhaps one of the hardest things to rebuild after narcissistic abuse. You learned to distrust people, to question your own perceptions, to expect the worst to happen at any moment. But there's an even deeper type of trust that Louise Hay invites us to cultivate: trust in life itself, in the wisdom of the universe, in the natural flow of things. It's the ability to release the rigid control born from fear and allow life to guide you, knowing you're safe, that you're being cared for, that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. This trust isn't naivety, it's a profound wisdom that comes from recognizing you're part of something much greater. When you lived in a chaotic and unpredictable environment, you developed mechanisms of hypervigilance and control to protect yourself. Amanda constantly checked her partner's mood, carefully planned every word, tried to control every variable to avoid explosions. Even after leaving the relationship, she carried this constant tension, this need to control everything around her, because she believed that if she relaxed for a moment, something terrible would happen. According to Louise Hay, when we live in a constant state of fear and control, we block the natural flow of blessings the universe wants to bring us. Amanda needed to learn that releasing control didn't mean being vulnerable to abuse. Again, it meant trusting herself to handle whatever came, and trusting that life was on her side. The dance of trust is a delicate movement between doing your part and allowing the universe to do its part. You plant the seeds, water the garden, but you can't force the flowers to bloom. You trust in the natural process of growth. Louise Hay always emphasized that there's a greater intelligence operating in our lives, and that when we align with it through trust and surrender, things flow much more easily. This doesn't mean passivity or resignation. It means acting with intention and then releasing the need to control every outcome. I trust in the process of life and know I am safe. This affirmation is a balm for the soul, tired of trying to control everything, an invitation to relax in the certainty that you are supported. Surrendering to the flow of life requires courage, especially when you've been betrayed and hurt. But Louise Hay reminds us that the alternative, living in constant fear, trying to control every aspect of life, is exhausting and ultimately impossible. You can't control other people's actions, can't predict every challenge, can't guarantee you'll never be hurt again, but you can trust in your own resilience, in your capacity to heal, in your inner wisdom that will guide you. You can trust that even when difficult things happen, there's a greater purpose, a lesson, an opportunity for growth. I surrender to the flow of life with confidence and peace. When you truly embody this affirmation, you feel your shoulders relax, your breathing deepen, and a sense of relief wash over you. The dance of trust takes you to places that control could never reach. You open yourself to unexpected opportunities because you're no longer rigidly attached to a single path. You experience magical synchronicities because you're present and receptive to the universe's signs. You attract people and situations aligned with your highest good because your energy is no longer contracted by fear, but expanded by trust. According to Louise Hay, when we trust in life, life trusts us with ever greater blessings. You discover you can dance with uncertainty instead of fighting against it, that you can embrace mystery instead of fearing it. And in this dance, you find a freedom you never imagined possible, the freedom to be fully yourself, to live authentically, to love without paralyzing fear. You realize that life isn't your enemy, but your partner, and that together you're creating something beautiful, something meaningful, something that honors the incredible journey you've traveled and celebrates the extraordinary woman you've become. And now, it's time to transform everything we've learned into something tangible. Asterisk, asterisk, rebirth, ritual, asterisk, asterisk. Now that you've absorbed all this knowledge, it's time to transform it into living experience. I'm going to guide you through a powerful exercise that Louise Hay used and taught mirror work, but we're going to adapt it specifically for healing from narcissistic abuse. This exercise might feel uncomfortable at first, and that's okay. The resistance you feel is just the old armor trying to protect you, but you don't need it anymore. Preparation 2 to 3 minutes. Find a moment when you're alone and won't be interrupted. Go to a mirror where you can see your face clearly. Take 3 deep breaths, placing one hand on your heart. Feel the warmth of your own hand, the rhythm of your heart beating. Say internally, I am safe. This is a space of love. Part 1, Recognition 3-4 minutes. Look into your own eyes through the mirror. Really look, as if you were seeing yourself for the first time. Notice the color of your eyes, the small lines around them, the life that exists there. Now, speak out loud. I see you. I acknowledge everything you've been through. I honor your pain, your courage, your strength. If tears come, let them flow. They're part of the healing. Part 2, Forgiveness 3-4 minutes. Continuing to look into your eyes. Say, I forgive you for all the times you believed the lies about who you are. I forgive you for staying when you should have left. I forgive you for not protecting yourself the way you deserved. You did the best you could, and that's enough. Breathe deeply between each phrase, allowing the words to penetrate. Part 3, Love Affirmations 3 to 4 minutes. Now comes the most powerful part. Looking directly into your eyes, say these affirmations with as much sincerity as you can. I love you exactly as you are. You are worthy of love, respect, and kindness. You deserve to be happy and live in peace. You are strong, wise, and capable. I will never abandon you. Repeat each one at least 3 times. If any affirmation seems impossible to say, that's exactly the one you most need to repeat. Part 4, Commitment to minutes. Finish by placing both hands over your heart and saying, I commit to treating you with love and compassion every day. I am your best friend, your protector, your greatest supporter. We're in this journey together, and we'll heal together. Continuing practice. Do this exercise every day for at least 21 days. Louise Hay said it takes time to reprogram old patterns, and repetition is essential. In the first days, you might feel resistance, discomfort, even ridiculous. Keep going anyway. Over time, you'll notice that the words begin to seem more true, that you can hold the gaze longer, that something profound is changing within you. Remember, this isn't just an exercise, it's a revolutionary act of self-love. Each time you look in the mirror and choose love instead of criticism, you're rewriting your story, healing old wounds, and planting seeds of a radiant future. You're becoming the person you always needed, and that's the most precious gift you can give yourself. Asterisk, asterisk, your new beginning, asterisk, asterisk, and here we are, at the end of this journey of discovery and healing. You've absorbed so much precious knowledge, so many powerful tools, so much truth about who you really are. Now, the most important invitation I can make to you is this: apply all of this with love and gentleness toward yourself. Healing isn't a race, it's a gentle dance, a gradual unfolding, a gentle return to the home that is yourself. Remember that every small step you take toward self-love is a victory. Each time you choose compassion instead of criticism, each time you establish a healthy boundary, each time you look in the mirror and say, "I love you," you're rewriting your story. Louise Hay taught us that we are always worthy of love, always deserving of peace, always capable of healing ourselves. And this truth lives within you now, waiting to blossom. Be patient with yourself on this journey. There will be bright days and challenging days, and all of them are part of the process. What matters is that you never give up on yourself, that you keep choosing love, that you trust in your power of transformation. You are stronger than you imagine, more resilient than you believe, and more loved than you'll ever know. And the future you're creating, step by step, is radiant and full of infinite possibilities. Keep shining, dear soul. You are exactly where you need to be.